I don't remember clearly who I am. That accident took pieces of me, shards of memory gone with one blow. The doctors said it's temporary. The nurse said sleep is medicine. My mother pressed a cool cloth to my forehead and told me to forget. But the hollow that lives behind my eyes does not forget. It scratches. It asks. It never settles. When I left the hospital and walked into the house, I once knew, like the lines on my palm, something was wrong. A door stood where no door had stood before. Dark wood, older than our wallpaper. Silent as if it had always been waiting for me to look away. My mother's face hardened when I asked about it. She said, "Never go in there, Ren. There is something in there that will swallow you." She said it like a warning, like a prayer, like a sentence. I laughed then too loudly because it seemed ridiculous. But the house is alive in the way houses are, in small sounds and small betrayals. At night, when the radiators hush and the shadows lengthen, I heard things. Chains rubbing, a whisper of fabric across wood, a soft sound like someone trying not to breathe. Once, I pressed my face to the crack and knocked. "Is anyone there?" Silence answered. But silence can be heavy. It settles into the bones. It made my palms slick. One night I came down for water and found my mother standing in the doorway. She held a metal tray like a ritual. She slipped into the room only a sliver, only a blinkend, then she was back. On her sleeve a faint smear of red, almost the color of old tea. My chest tightened. The room, her secrecy, was a living thing. She tended it, and every night she returned as if to feed it. That should have been the last straw. It was not. It became the beginning. When she left town for my grandmother, she hesitated at the threshold. I saw her lips shape something unsaid. Then she shut the door and left. For the first time since I came home, the house belonged to me alone. At first I tried to be ordinary. I boiled water. I put my shoes by the door. I told myself to cook and to read and to sleep. But then the sounds grew louder. The night stretched like a held breath, and I could not help myself. I tore through drawers, searched every little tin and jar looking for a key that might undo the thing that gnawed at me. None fit. My hands bled on rusty screws. The house watched. Finally, I forced the lock. It came apart with a sound like a groan, like old wood giving up history. The door opened on a smell that pushed at my throat, damp, iron, a heaviness like a cellar other under a table. My flashlight cut through the dark as I aimed it into the room. He was small against the dark, skin pale and bruised. Chains bit into his skin. A rag at his mouth muffled the shape of words. His eyes found mine with a terror so tender it hurt. His eyes found mine, wide and glistening, begging me without a sound, as if the single word he could not speak was my name. The name cut clean through the fog of the last months. It was like smashing glass with my fist, and somehow finding a shard that fit. My head exploded with pain, a white-hot star behind my eyes, and I folded. I fell into black, as if the night had swallowed me whole. I woke up in a hospital bed. White walls, humming machines, the sterile light that erases the world's color. My mother sat at the edge of my bed, her fingers around my wrist. A physician spoke in that kind of way, practiced cadence that made everything sound like a condition. He said shock, fever, concussion, memory gaps. Let him rest. These things mend, sometimes. After the doctor left, I heard my mother say something she did not want me to catch. She barely breathed the words. Still, they landed in the room like stones. He's gone. Maybe the fire took him. Or he ran. Gone. The word moved through me like cold wind. Which one was gone? The boy behind the chains? Or the part of me that used to be? I stirred. forcing my body to move as if waking for the first time. My throat felt raw when I whispered, "Why am I here? What happened?" My mother, sitting at the edge of the bed, stilled for a moment before speaking. Her face was calm but distant, her hand light on my wrist. "When I came home, the house was burning. You were lying near the door, unconscious. The neighbors helped pull you out." Her words were smooth, almost too smooth, like a story rehearsed for me alone. Something in my chest tightened, but I nodded as if I believed her. That night, alone in the gray hospice of my hospital room, with the curtains drawn and a clock clicking time into small boxes, my phone buzzed. A message slid across the screen. No number, no name. My fingers shook. Haru. The name leaked up from somewhere under the bruises. The pieces came back in terrible fits. Our fingers twined. The slip of a kiss that felt like falling from a cliff and landing in someone's arms. The whisper I had breathed once, dangerous and possessive. "No one may cause you pain, except me." It was meant as protection. It also read like a vow of possession. The night they found us, if they can be called, that my mother's eyes were a cold furnace. She called us filthy names. She reached for Haru's hair and struck him there, as if beating out the things she feared. I moved as a reflex to shield him, and something hard met my head. Pain, and then nothing. When I came back, memory had been taken like a poultice. A clean pain where everything used to be. Haru was gone. My mother's hatred was a shape that fit inside her like a bone. She believed that love like ours was a poison, something to be contained or burned. She called him a demon. While I lay in a haze, my mother locked Haru away and whispered to me to forget him, as if erasing him from my mind could make him disappear. The night the house burned, the news set a careless flame. An accident people would tell the story later in quieter rooms. They said the room was an inferno, and that whoever was inside could not have escaped. My mother sighed then, a long, weird relief in the shape of a person who had finally been vindicated. But I remember the heat. I remember the chains under my fingers and the way his wrists opened to me, as if he had been waiting for that touch. I remember hauling him out into the cold air, dragging him through a door at the back of the house I had known since childhood, an old service door that stuck, but still opened if you insisted. I put him on a stone bench among the hedges and pressed my palm to his ribcage to feel life. He looked at me like a man who had been given a last, impossible gift. "Don't make a sound," I told him. "Stay here. I'll come back." His eyes were wide with fright and something like a plea. He mouthed my name. I went back inside. I looked at the marks on the walls, the shredded mattress specked with dark stains. If anyone saw this, if anyone knew Haru's story would be out, that could undo everything. I gathered rags. I soaked them in oil. My hands shook, not from fear, but from the weight of the choice I was making. I struck the match and held it over the oil-soaked cloth, my chest twisting. I wasn't just burning a room. I was burning the last proof that Haru had ever been here. I wanted my mother to believe he was gone, that there was nothing left to find. The flame caught. It spread with a hungry rush. Smoke rolled out like a tide. The heat hit me like a fist, and for a moment, I thought I could hear the chains screaming as they turned to black. I backed out, coughing, and whispered into the crackling that would hide the rest. "I'm sorry. This is the only way." I ran to the garden for Haru and wrapped him in my coat. I felt his ribs move. He was alive. I led him to a place I knew, an abandoned shed at the edge of town I had once used to hide things as a child. I left him there, curled and shivering, and I cut my palm to smear blood across my sleeve. Proof of pain, proof of smoke. It was a small lie that would buy a great silence. Then I went back and collapsed on the threshold. When the smoke hit me properly, I swallowed it and I blacked out for real this time. It was not pretend, it was surrender. The message on my phone was proof that the story the world accepted was not the whole truth. The text was small and patient, a thread thrown into the dark. Where are you? I miss you so much. Haru lived. He lived because I had chosen him. I hid him where no one would find him. I made a hollow place for him in a house no one noticed. I locked the door. I told myself it was to keep him safe, but it was also to keep him mine. Some nights he slept and I watched his chest rise and fall and felt my heart press against his back like an animal tethering itself to safety. Other nights he cried into the coat I had left him, and I stroked his hair and told him lies that would keep him calm. I knelt beside him. "You're safe now," I whispered. "No one will take you from me." Inside, I thought, I can't let you leave. You belong here with me. I am not innocent. I have learned my mother's language and made it mine. I have learned that love can be a lock, a chain, a rule. I have learned to be the person who holds the key. When I close my eyes now, I can hear the faint rattle like a distant metronome, the chain memory that keeps time with my pulse. If that makes me monstrous, then I will be monstrous. If that makes me guilty, then I will carry the guilt like a medal no one else can force me to remove. Because he is here, because he is mine. No one will take him from me, not my mother. Not a world that calls what we have wrong, not fate, not fire. Forever.